Hey everyone, it's Lauren Robertson here. Today I want to continue the conversation about how the stories that you've created and the programs that you're running in your mind that have been given to you from childhood and start with your family of origin are affecting your mediumship today. So in the previous video we talked about our mother story. You will be able to find that video somewhere on my Facebook page or Instagram or on my YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk about how your father story could potentially affect your mediumship today. And for those of you who have read my book, you will know that I know all about the father story. This is my book, The Medium in Manolos. You can get it on Amazon or anywhere books are sold. And I went through a really difficult time accepting who I had made myself be or who I believed my dad saw me as. My dad left when I was 5, so my father's story was very much about abandonment, very much about being unwanted, unloved, about being easily overlooked, easily dropped, easily left behind. And that really affected not only my mediumship, but my growth as a young woman for many years. And it led to me really feeling just this overarching discomfort with men, this overarching discomfort with not really knowing how to be friends with men, not really knowing how to choose a good partner for myself, not really knowing what men's signals to me were or whether they had any kind of subterfuge in what they were saying or doing or whatever, because I simply just had no model for that. I also didn't really know what the expectations were of how men and boys should behave towards me or treat me in my life or anything like that. And so not only did that affect me a lot in my personal life, but also when it came to my mediumship, I felt that same uneasiness sometimes. I felt that same uneasiness of not really being sure what the client was thinking about their reading, not really being sure if they were happy or if I was good enough or doing good enough or if I was pleasing them. And then a huge one for me was feeling really, really unappreciated because I had this model of my dad having left when I was 5, and I just felt that I was so easily dropped and disposed of. And I didn't feel that consciously, but the story was running in my programming. The message was there. Someone who is supposed to love you can leave and never look back and doesn't, it's fine, like whatever. And so I had that story playing. And so when it came to, for example, doing readings, so I've done about 30,000 mediumship readings, and that's only including one-to-ones. That's not including any platform demonstrations I've done, which have been many. But I've always struggled with this feeling of feeling really a little bit exhausted at the end of readings, especially one-to-ones, because I've always felt that there's this energetic imbalance between how much I want to give and how much I want to please them and how much I want to really impact them so that they go away, having been battered into a new orbit of releasing whatever problem they had and then finding the solution in the reading with me. And there's been nothing that's been more personally devastating to me as when I've, for example, done a reading for a client and then I felt the reading's gone really well. They were really enjoying it. They seemed to get a lot out of it. A lot of really true information came from spirit. But then, I see them 6 months later and they would say something like, "Oh, I think you did a reading for me at such and such a place, but I don't really remember what you said." That sort of dynamic would bring up a lot of pain for me. And that pain was based on the fact that I felt I was easily disposed of or easily overlooked, or that there wasn't enough that I could do to make myself matter to somebody. All right. So you can see how that would be deeply interfering in your ability to work with spirit, in my ability to work with spirit, because there's all of this very human pain that's tied up in this very precious, wholesome, high level, high vibe work that I'm trying to do with people. And so I wonder if any of you can resonate with that story. You know, anybody who's ever had a parent leave and not look back, or, you know, their parents left when they were born or when they were small or anything like that, you know, you might be able to relate to some of the feelings that I'm sharing with you. And, you know, this is why it's so important that we do this personal work. You know, we do this work to look at ourselves and look within, because I don't want it to be true that my pain about being underappreciated will stop me from doing my mediumship or will stop me from doing anything that I want. And I get to choose that. I get to take personal responsibility for that. I get to look at that scenario and go, oh, wow, okay. So I'm withdrawing and I'm feeling pain because this is reminding me of a situation when I felt abandoned or hurt or completely overlooked as a child. If I hadn't done the personal development work on myself to understand that perspective, I would not have those resources to reach for, and I would just quit mediumship. I would just be like, I feel very hurt, I feel I'm not appreciated. You know, if somebody asks for a refund, or if they're not happy, or if this or this or this, you know, I'm taking it like I'm not good enough. And, you know, I'm not judging anybody in particular, but I see some mediums out there who I can just tell, because it's like looking into a mirror, that they're withdrawn from this important work that they're called to do because of that exact same wound, the exact same wound that I had. And this is why, as I said, this work of looking at ourselves is so important. Now, some fathers do a great job. Some fathers are there, they're present, they have this great combination of like readying the path for the child, but also readying the child for the path, and they get it right. And, you know, if you have a great relationship with your father, then, you know, ignore everything that I'm saying. But for some of us, we've got the abandonment story. And for some of us, you know, it goes the opposite way as well, where our father represents this protector in our life, and he can go into that zone of becoming an overprotector in our life. So we become the little prince or the little princess, and because dad or the masculine figure or father figure in our life, you know, smoothed the way for us and shaped us into somebody who, you know, would always be protected and would always be looked after, and we came to depend on that person for that. Sometimes we can get out into the real world, and especially for, you know, mediums, we can get out into the kind of the hard work and the stretching that you have to do, and the uncertainty of the messages, and trying to figure this gift out for yourself. And if we have a dad who's turned us into a little prince or a little princess, we can really fail to launch, like fail to thrive when we actually get out into the real world. Like, we don't realize that the road would not always be readied for us when we go out into the real world. And so fathers and mothers too are doing their best. Most people are doing their best, the best that they know how. And if somebody's doing badly, it's only because that's the only way they know how to do. And so, as I said before, this isn't about blame, but it is about understanding. So if you, for example, have become a little prince or a little princess, if you do a reading for somebody and that reading doesn't go so well, or you, you know, don't come first in a competition, or you don't get the first A plus in your life, or you know, something about the road becomes rocky, you might struggle to respond. You might struggle to thrive with that. And so again, it's really important to kind of understand and recognize and look at where we might have been overprotected or over guided, or had somebody, you know, ahead of us, kind of a knight in shining armour thrashing down the briars, so that we never had to thrash them for ourselves. Because I'm sure you know, on your mediumship journey, there are some briars to be thrashed. And so the job for you, if you're a little prince or princess, is to do this work and to look at where, you know, some of the pain you might have experienced in life about not coming first, or not doing your best, or, you know, life not responding the way you want even though you did your best, and the pain that that caused. You know, you might have had an oversensitivity to that if you didn't feel that you were prepared for it beforehand. So accepting that for what it is, healing it, tempering your pain and not letting it go so deep, and trying to find a kind of middle ground where you say, that hurt, but I now understand that there might be some things to face that are a bit tougher out there, is a good way for you to approach it. When it comes to our fathers, if they're still alive, fathers will rarely ask for appreciation. And so if your dad is still alive and you have the opportunity to be around him, something that can be very healing is to just say to your dad, you, Dad, make such a difference in my life. Thank you for everything you've done. And just let that person know that you appreciate them. And that can be very healing to change the dynamic and to give you your power back if you felt either overpowered by your dad or completely unsupported by your dad. You can take your power back by saying, you've really made a difference in my life. Thank you so much for everything that you've done. And if you read my book, The Medium and Manolos, you will come to understand that I managed to reach a very surprising and unexpected truce and peace with my own father. And you'll be able to read about the amazing impact that that had on my mediumship overnight, where information was just flowing out of me and flowing so freely, and all of my live events were sold out, and I had more readings than I knew what to do with, and I got my Hay House book deal, and everything just started to happen as a result of healing this one particular wound. So I really hope that you enjoy reading about that if you haven't already, and I really hope you've enjoyed hearing a little bit about the father story. So please leave me a comment. Let me know if you agree with this. Do you agree with what I've said? Do you disagree? Do you have your own father story? What was your relationship with your own father like? And do you see some of the lessons or the ways of being that your father taught you that are turning up in your mediumship now, either helpfully or unhelpfully? I'd love to hear all about it. And of course, the Spirit Circle launches today. So if you're a medium who would like to receive coaching with me every fortnight for a very reasonable price, and it's pay-as-you-go coaching, so you can sign up and then leave whenever you want, you can join the circle today. I will put the link to that in somewhere around this video. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll talk to you again really soon. Bye.